Hey everybody, it is time once again for the weekly Rahdo recap, and this week we are in the beautiful town square of San Ignacio, Baja. We just biked in from our local campground so we could check this out because it's just absolutely lovely. It's early in the morning here on Christmas Eve day, and what we really wanted to see was the beautiful, let me see if I can make the lighting change, the huge Mission Cathedral, which is absolutely lovely. Jen's in there right now. She'll be snapping some pics, but I've got her phone so that I can tell you about what I'm here to do, folks. Every week on the recap, I will tell you about all the videos that went up on my channel, all the videos that went up on other people's channels that I think are awesome, and also all the new games I've discovered. And this week was crazy. So many new games I found on Board Game Geek. I can't wait to tell you. But folks, as always, let's start with new videos. Starting with an exclusive for backers of the show, either here on YouTube as members or over at patreon.com. Jen and I, a couple days ago, filmed our latest Rest and Relax, and it was Jen and me playing all the way through Witchstone Full Moon, a new expansion for an awesome, awesome game from Reiner Knizia that does not get nearly as much love as it deserves. And this Full Moon expansion is a great little box of extra stuff that really ratchets up the gameplay. Jen and I played a full game from start to finish. You can check that out right now as an exclusive, as a thank you to everybody who helped keep Rahdo running. Okay, folks, that's it for exclusives. What have we got for everybody to see? Oh, this week's R&R&R. Episode 80 of the R&R&R show was the biggest one we've ever done. We had Cole Worley of Whirligig Games and Leader Games, you know, the designer of Root and PAX Premier and stuff. He came on, and the four of us did a top 16 games of the year for 2023. But it wasn't just me and Ruel and Chris and Ray and Cole. Actually, all the other contributors for the channel got together too. So this was a big Rahdo community coming together, and it was a very, very fun list. And as cool as the list was, folks, what I've really got to say is stick around for the extended edition of this. A lot of people don't watch the extendeds, but you really should, because the pre-show, where they were doing an interview with Cole, is so fascinating. One of the best board game developer interviews I've ever seen. And of course, in the post-show, they talked about a bunch of other games that were on their short list for best of the year. So it was a big R&R&R, the biggest one ever, and absolutely fantastic stuff. If you want to check it out, there's links for it down in the show notes, like everything I'm going to talk about today, or you can wait till the end and we'll have a playlist of everything. All right, so also I put up a new questions and answer. It was a shorter one, just 20 minutes long, 3 questions. What were they? Oh, talk about game killers. When does a game deserve to kill another game? You know, stuff like that. Somebody was asking about games that let you cheat as part of the rules, and is that cool or not? Yes, it is my answer. And somebody asking about how to figure out what the best games to watch on the channel are, because, hey, just because Shay covered it doesn't mean it's something that I would have covered. So a little bit of bookkeeping. So that was a fun Q&A. And we also covered games, folks. That's what we're here to do. Kimberly did a run through of World Wonders, and just in time. This one is really starting to show up on a bunch of people's top 10 of the year lists with good reason. It is one of the best polyomino tile layers out there, and certainly one of the nicest productions. And Kim did a great job showing why everybody is so hard head over tails in love with it. And then Ruel did a run through of General Orders, a new game that hasn't really gotten a lot of traction yet. I think it came out in October and there was a little bit, but it seems to taper off, and I'm not sure why. It's a brilliant worker placement game set on the battlefields of World War II. So if you like the subject matter, but you would like a more Euro-y experience with worker placement kind of fused with area majorities and stuff like that, it's a really neat game. Definitely worth checking out Ruel's run through of General Orders. And then I had a couple of Rapid reviews this week as well. One for Kelte, a very, very cool, what would you call it? I guess you call it a rondel game, but does some very, very interesting things to mix up the core formula. And then also Dragon Keepers, a charming little card game, pretty family friendly, I'd say. And in spite of that, you know, it's a gateway game, which is normally a turnoff for me and Jen. Well, I should say I liked it a lot. Jen had some problems with it, and I talk about it in the Rapid review. And then some people in the comments comment on whether I was right or wrong. Anyway, folks, as always, a lot of fun. That's what's on the channel. But What about other people's channels? I've got 4 to mention. First of all, Shelfside, as a special thank you to folks, as a Christmas present, I think they said, put up a new video called Draw My Life. And folks, if you only watch one video from last week, well, make sure it's one of the ones from my channel. But if you watch anything that's not on my channel last week, check out Shelfside's Draw My Life. It's basically Ash talking about the origin of the channel, but not just, at the beginning of filming, going all the way back to his childhood and everything that led up to him becoming one of the hottest, most successful, fastest growing board game YouTube channels there is. And also, as I've said in the past, my personal favorite channel of all of board game YouTube media. And what's cool is he had a friend of his draw pictures of all the chapters of his life, and it was so charming and really engaging too. I loved Shelfside's Draw My Life. Then, we had Salt and Sass. That is Mandy and Suzanne. They have a podcast and they live stream it on Twitch, and then they put portions of it on YouTube. And this is one of the best ones they've done yet. They were talking about exciting games from PAX Unplugged that they got their hands on. And I really, really loved it because there were several games that they were talking about I knew about, and several I had not heard of at all. And I've played games with both of them in the past. I know I've played with Suzanne. Have I played with Mandy, or have I just met her in person? Anyway, they're both wonderful, wonderful people, really, really sharp. And if they say a game is good, I mean, Suzanne has not let me down in the past. She's the one who got me to play Mandala, and I love it to this day. So when they say something is interesting, I'm interested too. So you can check out the latest Salt and Sass exciting games from PAX Unplugged. Oh, then Our Family Plays Games. Their latest Voices episode, which is a show I think they do every other week where they have a whole bunch of contributors on. It's kind of their equivalent of the Dice Tower board game breakfast, where they talk about all kinds of different topics with different contributors. This time they did their favorite, not top games of 2023, but their favorite games. I really like that, kind of accentuating the fact that, hey folks, just because we think it's the best game doesn't mean it is the best game, it's just our favorites. And the thing that really stood out for me is about half of them, I think are games you're seeing on other people's lists, but half of them were like, whoa, I didn't even consider that game, and you make a really good point, contributor X or Y or Z. It was really great, and you're gonna hear about some games you're not hearing about anywhere else if you check out Our Family Plays Games Voices Favorites of 2023. And then, this time of the year, folks, I can't mention at least one traditional top 10 countdown, so let's mention Man vs. Meeples this week. The 4 of them got together, Emily and Ryan, and was Jeremy there? Yeah, he was, and David, and it was really closer to a top 40. They did have some overlap, and I'm really shouting out to them, one, because they're showing everybody how to do it right. Put timestamps. Mick and Starla, please put timestamps in your shows so it's easy to jump around from chapter to chapter. Man vs. Meeple did it. I certainly do it. There's chapters you can jump to anything you want right down below in this video right now, folks. Anyway, they did a great job putting it together, and they had some really interesting picks as well, especially Emily and Jeremy. Some games that have really, although almost all of them agreed on one game that I had completely ignored and now has gone on to near the top of my must-play soon wish list. So they had a very, very good top 10 too. I mean, there's so many top 10s. Really, the ones I figure I wanted to highlight the most are the ones that really make me personally say, oh, I hadn't considered that one. That's very, very interesting indeed. Okay, folks, anyway, so that was a whole bunch of videos, and like I said, at the end of this video, there'll be a playlist on screen for all of them, just appearing right there. But now, I gotta tell you, folks, how many games? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10! 10 new games that I discovered while browsing Board Game Geek this week. Let's get going. So many to talk about, starting with, I think, the biggest one of all, Tiny Epic Game of Thrones. Who knew this was coming? I think this is the first ever Tiny Epic, a franchise crossover, and I know some people are maybe burned out of Game of Thrones, but not me, not this guy. I thought the final season was great, and I will happily debate anybody down in the comments. I've got some quibbles too, but anyway, let's talk about the game instead. Tiny Epic, so it's basically going to be Tiny Epic backstabbing politics and area control, right? I mean, obviously it's Game of Thrones, that's what it's got to be. But what's really interesting to me, because I don't know that I'd really be that interested in the gameplay as much as I always love Tiny Epic games, and I love Game of Thrones. But how are you going to do a game with negotiation and politics and all that stuff that you can play solo? It says right there on Board Game Geek, it's solo compatible. And that's what gets me very interested, in addition to the subject matter. Okay, next up, Kathmandu. And I should have mentioned this last week, but because, talk about must-have. This is the first completely new design from my favorite designer of all time, Feld, since, a couple of years ago when he put out Marrakesh. I mean, obviously they're doing all those, remakes of his games and revisits and adding solo modes and whatnot, but a completely new design about going on an expedition to Nepal. There's not much in the way of descriptions apparently around you. You roll 5 dice, you use 3 of them, and you're focusing on, trying to catalog all the adventures you have along the way, and there's actual travel. Not sure how it's going to work, but hey, it's Feld, so of course it's a must-play for me. Oh boy, I'm really excited about Circle the Wagon's Second Shot. Circle the Wagons, as far as I'm concerned, is by far the greatest game ever from Buttonshine. They've got a lot of really great games. Basically, this is effectively a standalone / expansion. It's 18 new cards added to a game that is already absolutely amazing. I think Circle the Wagons is in my top 50 games of all time. Probably the lightest weight, or certainly the smallest package of my highest of high games. So I am very excited for more content for Circle the Wagons with the Second Shot. You can get it as a standalone, or it can expand the base game. Okay, Quacks of Quedlinburg, The Duel. Now I have to admit, I'm really on the outs. Most people love Quacks of Quedlinburg. I wasn't so crazy about it. I had some issues with it, but I can't deny it was a very sharply designed game, and now it's getting a 2-player only sequel. And it sounds like, from what I can read on Board Game Geek, a lot of the core game is there. A lot of it is still, the bag building and push your luck and all that. But now there's a board where you are actually trying to manipulate the potential customers for your potions, trying to pull them to your stand and maybe away from other people's stands. I guess that's where the duel is. I don't know, but I am interested. And let's see, Flat Iron. So this is from the design team, I think husband and wife, behind the Red Cathedral, and this year's super duper hot, the White Castle. So anytime the two of them are putting a new design out, I am interested. This is interesting because it's a 2-player only game. I don't know if this is the first time they've done that, but it's about building the famous Flat Iron building in New York. If you, you can probably see right there, everybody recognizes that weird triangular building, and there's not much there other than the fact that it's 2-player only, and it's from them. So that's good enough for me. Epos, a Gentis game. I thought I'd heard the last of Gentis. That was a very, very sharp game published many, many years ago. I believe I heard somewhere else that it's getting a reprint, a new deluxe version. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong, but I've heard rumors that Gentis it might be coming back, but who knows? Maybe I was actually hearing about Epos, which is effectively a Gentis sequel. Epos, a Gentis game, and here's what's interesting. It's from the designer of Gentis, and more importantly, Arkwright. Everybody loves Arkwright. Well, not everybody, because oh my gosh, what a monster heavy game. But anyway, it's him. Was it Stephen Risthaus, I think? Visiting the world of Gentis, but coming up with a new gameplay system and 8 different scenarios you can play. And you can just play any of the scenarios standalone, or they can become a randomly generated campaign you can play through as well. So to me, that is a very, very interesting and enticing idea. So I'm definitely keen on that. Strato. This looks like a fairly straightforward abstract co-op game. There's very little explanation for what's going on. Something about playing cards to move other cards so they don't explode. I don't know, it's hard to say, why do I put it on the list then with so little information? The designer, Sophia Wagner, she made such a big splash a few years ago with, Honoria. But even more so, I loved The Boldest. And then we haven't seen much from her. She's doing in smaller, littler games after those two big heavy Euros, or medium weight Euros. And I mean, Sophia, if she does something that's not a pure abstract, or at least if it's going to be an abstract, how about a co-op? Co-op abstract games are pretty rare. So that's really interesting to me. Let's check out Strato. Then we've got Rivages. So this is from a new hot up-and-coming designer. Not many people played Wild Space, but a lot of people were very, very intrigued by Tribes of the Wind. And so this is him doing a new game. It's a roll and ride, or probably a flip and fill, about exploring islands and whatnot. There's not much more to say, but again, the design pedigree, and I'm always up for an interesting roll and ride. 2 more, folks. Rock Festival. Not much to say here other than the subject matter and the fact that it is cooperative. That's cool. There's been a few different, rock and roll bands or festival come together a few years ago. It was one of my top 10s of the year, but they're always competitive. I love the idea of working with Jen to put on a Woodstock-esque festival. That sounds really, really cool, and managing the bands and getting the audience in, but working together. I don't even know how that works. It's probably going to be really interesting and unique. So Rock Festival makes my wish list. And then the last one, Gaia Project, Lost Fleet. Where'd this come from? I thought everybody, they'd moved on and just doubled down on Terra Mystica. But for my money, Gaia Project was always superior to Terra Mystica. And now that it looks like it's getting a big expansion with a bunch of new playable factions and all that, it looks like it's going to be even better. So, phew, that's it, folks. Like I said, there was a lot this week, and hopefully you found something of interest to you. Now, right about now, we should be seeing, boom, right there is the, what do you call it, the playlist. You can also subscribe. You can back me on Patreon if you want those exclusives. And folks, Jen has not come out of that church yet. I'm a little worried. So I'm just going to say Feliz Navidad early and talk to you next week. So long. Bye-bye.